to denounce the evils of truth and love. It's VGC, the video game podcast, with me, Jordan Midler, and Chris Scullion. This week, everyone's playing a game that doesn't exist. But first, how's it going, Chris?
It's going good. The schools are back in Scotland, so the kids back in school.
Freedom. Were you getting at that? Getting at Big George?
I was life. Always getting at Big George, but it's just back to normality, kind of life being normal again. So that's good.
Just playing PS1 games no one's ever heard of.
Exactly, just like normal. I'm on my PlayStation Encyclopedia, and it's a 2-year effort, but even then I'm flagging behind a bit, so I need to pull the finger out. So once kind of like the next week and a half is like Gamescom. It's going to be quite busy. After that, there's a kind of clean run where I can
you confirm that you'll be in attendance at Gamescom?
I'm pretty sure I can confirm that. I mean, well, it seems that every PR in the world already knows I'm going to be at Gamescom. Because apparently I didn't realise this, because I've not been to Gamescom since 2008 or something. I was always kind of on the kind of front lines at the home front, writing the news stories and everything. So I didn't realise that when you sign up to Gamescom, pretty much every PR in the world is told, here's a list of people who are attending Gamescom.
Yep. And
I have every day, I've had at least 30 emails from different PRs saying, come and play this, come and play that. I'm like, I'm literally one man who's going to be there for 2.5 days. I can't see everything. So it's been pretty tricky, but I'll be there for the first time in a long time, and looking forward to it.
Nice.
Even though how it is, like I will never probably be on the show floor.
Oh, definitely
because there's obviously the kind of behind the scenes bit where you meet with the companies and stuff. So I'll pretty much be there the entire time.
And every German on earth is going to be there. I'm
pretty much.
I'm at DEF CON 5. Review season is about to start, and it's starting with a bang. So I'm shaking. Anytime my phone makes a noise, I'm like throwing my head towards it to see if it's time. But yeah,
there's big stuff on the way.
There's big stuff
that we need to we're going to have to. Well, we were talking about trying to figure a way to integrate a new kind of impressions section to the site, so we can cover as many of these games as possible without committing full reviews to them all, because we've only got so many people. So
a subsection called "We're Just Two Guys."
Exactly. It's with our new section, "Geese a Break."
Yeah. But you see more about that. Check out patreon.com/video games chronicle for extra podcasts, extra videos, and more. This week we launched CVG, Chatting Vintage Games. Welcome back. It's been too long. Our new retro podcast, the first episode of which is available now. Chris, I initially I told you I was going to the Horrible Spar to see if I could get some energy drinks, but there's been a troubling development. I went in and they've got beautiful new fridges filled to the brim with just Monster products, which is not the worst thing in the world, but it means that all the trash has been removed, presumably at the behest of the Monster company, because I assume they provided it.
That's how they do it. They give them the gear, and then because Cadbury do that. Cadbury give them all the fancy kind of stands and stuff, and then insist that Cadbury's products are at the front.
Yeah. So restaurants, when a new restaurant opens, apparently the joke is that if you open a restaurant, the first person that will phone you is Coca-Cola saying, do you want a Coca-Cola fridge? But you can only put Coke products in it, and you can only buy them from us. So I've just got a little a Monster Punch, Pacific Punch, which is a nice one, just to get me started.
I like a Pacific Punch. I should go in full sugar though.
I know. It's just I've got a lot on today. Plus, I was playing football last night, and I'm feeling quite sore, so I need to have a bit
replace your electrolytes.
Yeah, exactly.
Pacific Punch.
Replace all the cartilage that was taken out of my knee with pure sugar, which I'm sure will be fine. Okay, story number 1. Valve's unannounced hero shooter is already one of Steam's most played games. Now, Chris, I've got a secret to tell you. Valve's making a game called Deadlock.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and this is real insider stuff, so I don't know if we can publish this or not. but roughly 100,000 people are playing it currently, and it doesn't exist as a game. So this is a total kerfuffle. We're going to be talking a little bit inside baseball here. You may or may not have seen that The Verge wrote about this game, a game that Valve has yet to officially announce, but is very easily playable. Is currently in beta. Anyone who's in the beta can invite their friends to it. So getting access to this game is immaterial. You don't have to sign an NDA. You have to. So Valve's defense would be theoretically you have to click a box that says, I'm not going to talk about this game, but as The Verge points out, if you just hit escape, the box disappears, and thus you don't have to click anything. And even so, that's not legally enforceable. You didn't sign anything. This is a mess, Chris. What's going on?
This is the first time ever that a game hasn't been announced, and I'm already sick of it.
Yep,
I'm sick of talking about Deadlock, and it's not even official yet. It's like the whole thing is, like you say, it's an absolute mess. How this has been arranged. It's like Valve somehow expects nobody to talk about this game, whether even if you couldn't escape from the agreement and you had to click it. It's the stupidest, like, worst kept secret in video games just now, and I'm already bored of it, and I'm already bored of the discourse about people saying, "Oh, is it right to cover this in the press?" Is it? Shut up. like you say, it's on SteamDB. Like,
Chris, I will blur this, right? But I searched Deadlock on TikTok, and there's footage of a game that doesn't exist.
There we go. Well, that's funny because it seems to be there. It seems to be visible.
Tons of footage of a game that does not exist. That's mad. Here's the thing. Do you think Valve knew this is exactly what would happen, and it's generated more chat about the game than would have if they just came out and went, "Here's our new thing. It's Deadlock."
Maybe, but then they've got to figure out how they're going to announce it now, because
Opening night live, surely that's a Jeff thing.
It's kind of got to be. I mean, I get what you mean. Like there are so many of these kind of shooter type things doing the rounds, that maybe this is their clever way, or attempted clever way, of getting more buzz than other ones get by kind of making it this kind of unannounced open secret. But then there's going to have to come a point where they actually go, "Introducing Deadlock," and everyone goes, "Yeah, but no." Yep. Like, so it's a dangerous game they're playing, quite literally. But we'll see. It's just I can't get excited about it, because especially because the discourse seems more to be, this game's a secret, than this game's actually quite good. I don't see a lot of people actually saying it's a good game. Just more people just talking about how it's about the leaks. So what do you make rather than the quality?
What do you make of the pearl clutching around people being like, "Oh, The Verge shouldn't have covered this. This is a terrible dissolution of trust with Valve."
I would understand if it was an actual embargoed game. Like, we're juggling, me and you are both juggling a lot of stuff just now that we're not talking about because we've agreed not to talk about it and stuff like that. But like you say, if you can literally go on your phone and see countless people, quote unquote normal people, which are, like, who aren't in the games industry, sharing this game like freely, then, and we haven't agreed to not discuss it, or The Verge haven't agreed to not discuss it, do they seriously think they're going to sit in their hands and let the public talk about a game and the media not talk about the game? It's just, it doesn't make sense. Even just purely on the terms of, this is a game that has nearly 20,000 concurrent people playing it a few days ago. Just purely on that alone, it is a game that is newsworthy and worth talking about. And if there'd be no NDAs signed, then I don't see any reason why it shouldn't be getting talked about.
Also, these are the same people that are always like, "Oh, the games press are too in bed with the games industry. They're not looking out for us." It's like, the second that we step a toe out of line, they're like, "Oh, you shouldn't have done that. The Valve worked so hard. This is
Valve for some reason get a free pass with these things. I bet if it was Activision, it'd be like, "Yeah, teach them a lesson. Take that, Activision. Take that, EA." But for some reason with Valve, it's, "Oh, don't do that to Gabe."
Yeah, don't do that to billionaire.
Gabe personally worked hard on this game. They're all the same. None of these companies, Nintendo included, are here to be your best pal. They're here to make money, and so, like, this is the gig.
It's really embarrassing the way people were reacting to that stuff. Also, people being like, "Oh, The Verge are going to be blacklisted from future Valve games." What future Valve games? Valve put out 2 games every decade.
Portal 3.
So yeah, I think I've not played Deadlock. I've not. Oh, I have played Deadlock. I've just agreed to the embargo.
Oh,
No,
thug life.
I know. This is basic thugonomics. I have not played it. The footage, which is across absolutely every platform, looks interesting. But I agree with you in the sense that the actual rollout is just gonna. Maybe they just shadow drop it on a random Friday and go, okay, that's it out. Like because it's Valve, they can put it on the front page of Steam for the rest of their lives. So
yeah, they don't need to be at Gamescom. They're a rock star in that sense, in that they don't have to come on a stage and say, "Hey guys," like they can just they own the platform. Like you say, they can just release it whenever they want and go, "Here it is," and it'll do big numbers just because it's a Valve game.
Gersman pointed out that the game appearing on SteamDB may point to this being intentional because Valve can hide stuff from that, and they specifically haven't here. So maybe they're just like, well, this is a way to get it out. People are talking about it. If we didn't do this, it may land with a thud, like a lot of the current hero stuff. Concord. Pleased to announce our spin-off Concord podcast will be launching soon. You excited about that, Chris?
I'm pumped. I've never been more pumped. And that includes my stint selling myself on the streets. I'm still going to get more pumped.
Your first or second stint?
I don't usually talk about the first because a lot of mistakes were made, but by the second I was a pro.
Yeah, but the first stint was like pretty revolutionary because you were unlike a lot of the other people on the street. But then after you fell out with the boss and you got the staph infection and like they ruined your main event with John Cena, you had to leave and then come back later, and things are rosy now.
It happens. That's just the way the streets go.
Yeah.
But yeah, trying to drive this back on topic with an extreme swerve on the steering wheel. At the end of the day, the Valve knew this. I agree with Gersman. This is the ploy all along. If Valve wanted this to be top secret, they wouldn't let the players openly invite their pals to join in. Because loose lips sink ships, and it looks like they're just allowing all the lips to jam into the arse of this game. So yeah,
I thought you were taking it back off the streets.
Well,
just jamming lips up arses.
You can't keep me off the streets. I'll always get back there.
You'll always find your way back home. Story number 2. Chris Scullion's story, a Halloween game, is in development in UE5 with John Carpenter contributing, according to IGN. Boss Team Games, which is most recently responsible for Evil Dead the game, is working on both Halloween titles. While the details of the game are being kept under wraps, John Carpenter in a statement said, as a huge gamer myself, I'm thrilled to help bring Michael Myers to life again in this game. And my hope is to scare you silly. Michael Myers is back, groovy baby. Oh yeah.
Shrek returns. It's funny because this story was then superseded by a more exciting story literally the following day. So like you say, Boss Team Games announced that we're making 2 Halloween games. And the first one's Unreal with John Carpenter, like you say. And I tweeted about it, and literally all I tweeted over and over again was, please be good, please be single player, please be good, please be single player. Because as soon as I see Evil Dead the game team working on a UE5 horror game, I'm instantly thinking this is a multiplayer game.
Yeah,
get written all over it. This is another Texas Chainsaw. This is another Dead by Daylight. This is Evil Dead the game had some single player stuff, but by and large it's a multiplayer game. So please don't do this again. Please don't have it like 8 survivors and one person is Michael Myers. And then literally the next day, Boss Team said, here's the other one we're working on. It's a 2D 16-bit style platformer developed by Way Forward,
nice.
who like are the kings of 2D games. And we're also doing an Evil Dead one. And it's a new series called Retro Realms. And if you buy them, we'll keep making more. And instantly I'm like, this is my most dreamt of game for my entire life. So yeah, we're now getting a 16-bit style Halloween game and an Evil Dead game with the promise of more to come, and I could not be more sold. I'll be there fucking day -8. I'll be there.
You're just sitting buying gift copies on Steam.
I've already, full disclosure, I have already pre-ordered the collector's edition.
Nice.
The $100 collector's edition that comes with a plush Michael Myers and a fake arcade cabinet and stupid wee pins and collector's coins and that I'll never open.
Is that a wee limited run job?
I don't know who's doing it. It's not limited run. It's somebody I wasn't familiar with before. I wasn't familiar with their game, and now I am. I can't wait. This is the first official Halloween game since the Atari days. Like Michael Myers was in Dead by Daylight as DLC, but the last official Halloween game was on the Atari 2600.
So that's funny because you may not have been part of this because you're not like a massive COD guy, but are you aware of the Michael Myers game mode in COD?
I'm not.
It's like
official or
no. Well, it became official eventually, but it was just a custom game that people played where one person was like double speed but could only use the knife, and the rest of the players like had to run away from them. And it was people called it Michael Myers, and then they integrated it into real COD eventually. Obviously, didn't call it Michael Myers, although I think eventually they sold Michael Myers as a skin in Warzone, like when they were doing Jigsaw and all those weird shit.
That's the thing. He's been in some games, not as much as other characters, but I mean, there's been more Jason appearances in Evil Dead appearances. Jason, and obviously, like Evil Dead had a few games in the Dreamcast days. So a new Evil Dead game is cool, but not like a massive deal. But a new Halloween game for the first time since like the early 80s.
Imagine
cool.
Capcom did one of these. If Capcom did like a licensed horror. Like I suppose Mr. X is very Michael Myers-ish in the way that he stalks you through like the PlayStation, but I always think the horror properties feel underutilized.
And it makes a Halloween the UE5 game, if it is a multiplayer, although it's not my jam, as the kids say, I could see how they would do it, because the whole point of Halloween was it was just set on one street. So I can imagine one Michael Myers and all the babysitters running around like 4 or 5 different houses, like hiding from him under beds and in cupboards and stuff like that. Like I can see how that works. It's just not for me, but 16-bit style made by Way Forward to nail that every single time is just a guaranteed day one. I rarely buy things without even playing them first. Like EA FC is the only game every year I buy a pre-order, and this is one I've done. I'm so convinced it'll be good.
Good. Yeah, seeing anytime one of these horror things pops up, I'm like, oh, you'll be happy. He's probably
keeps me ticking away, keeps me off the streets.
Finally got you off those damn streets. Story number 3. Randy Pitchford is tweeting through the pain. Posting on X following heavy criticism of the newly released Borderlands film, which got off to, let's say, a slow start at the box office. Pitchford said Gearbox is hard at work on the next entry in the looter shooter series. Quote, "So what you're saying is, you like what my friends and I do with our Borderlands video games even more than you like what some of the biggest and best cast and crew of filmmakers on the planet have done," he wrote. "I'm super flattered. We're working on we're working extra hard for you on what's next." That inflection was editorializing, however, I'm pretty sure it was quite accurate. This has really, really embarrassed him, Chris, after all of the videos of him being like, "Oh, I'm on the set of Borderlands with my best friends Kevin Hart," and then it comes out and it's a fucking -50 on Rotten Tomatoes.
He's putting a brave spin on it, and obviously he's being slightly tongue in cheek here, but it is still a bit of cringe. Going, "Oh, so what you're all telling me is that we're even better at making video games than Hollywood are at making movies." Yeah, like, mate, this is your film and it's shite. Own it.
It's like, careful, mate. I played Borderlands 3. Don't get too big for your boots.
I've always kind of liked the Borderland games, but never loved them. I've always felt they were trying too hard. And by all accounts, the movie is like the pinnacle of that. Like taking the average humor and trying to drive it down people's throats to make it seem like it's the funniest thing that's ever happened. Like Tiny Tina turned me off Borderlands entirely. That character just is the epitome of Borderlands for me. It's like far too obnoxious and trying far too hard to be funny. I just gave up at that point. So I'm not massively excited about Borderlands 4. It will no doubt do crazy numbers, and a lot of people will like it.
It really sells. Like that's the thing. That's why 2K bought them, because they're like, against all odds, people just bang out for the Borderlands stuff.
Yeah. So if people enjoy it, good, fair play to them. I'm glad they get another game they enjoy, but I won't be there, I'm afraid.
I have a complicated relationship with Borderlands because I've completed Borderlands 2 like 12 times because I just think it's like a absolutely perfect looter shooter. Like the fucking the dialogue and all that shit is absolutely like cringe to the back teeth, but you don't listen to it when you're on your 8th run through. The mechanics are just so good though that
Yeah.
the random gun stuff is still brilliant. The idea that there's like quintillions of guns because it's all just randomized was so novel and it's still fun. The shooting is still great, and a good shooter action RPG is still a good shooter action RPG. But yeah, the the dialogue and the whole meme culture and stuff like that. Like, Borderlands 4 is going to have like a Trump figure in it, and it's going to have the Hawk Tuah girl about 12 years after she's actually like dead from a massive fentanyl overdose. Like, there's not going to be anything in it that is legitimately funny. See, in the world where, thank goodness you're here exists, I'm going to say the funniest game ever made. You can't just be like mildly humorous in order to get away with it. Like, the standards have been exponentially raised.
I'm worried about GTA. Like, not in a sense where I think it's going to be bad. A lot has changed in the world, and I really hope GTA 6 can still nail the humor and the satire without it being too obvious or without it not going far enough. Or there's a really tricky balance they've got to play there, because like humorous talk radio stations and dodgy politicians are just the common these days. They're far too common, and it's going to be difficult to kind of parody that.
I imagine it'll have to thread the same needle that South Park does now, where if you watch a modern South Park, there are some things where you go, oh, that's a bit like, that's not as razor sharp as maybe it was 10 years ago, but they still like pull it out. Obviously, they couldn't be working on different time schedules if they tried, but I feel like GTA in the overall will approach the satire more broadly in the way that like Black Mirror does, where it's not satirizing specific people or specific events. It's just satirizing like themes and what's generally going on. I thought GTA 5 struck a decent balance. Like, they had the Life Invader stuff, which is obviously like Zuckerberg parody and all that. They will have I'm sure GTA 6 will have like the podcasts, like the Mad Right Wing Grift podcasts, the selling supplements and all that stuff. I think honestly Rockstar would veer away violently from having a Trump style figure, because they know that not only by the time it comes out it could be outdated and we don't see the like of him ever again. I mean, he nearly got his fucking head blown off about 2 weeks ago. But they know that there's nothing to be done. There's no joke to be done there.
And also, a lot of his fans play the game. Like, everyone plays GTA, so you need to. I think that a sensible thing that they could do, and this is another classic games journalist saying, "Why don't they just do this as if it's so easy?"
I mean, they're about 20 minutes for you. You could just go and tell them.
I could probably shout out the window and see if somebody can hear me, but given how long these games take to make, and given how satire has to be kind of timely, I wonder what the scope would have been for like a way to update the billboards regularly in the game, and to update the talk radio stations that are in the game with kind of new content every few weeks or every month, like especially in the online component, that's clearly going to have keep replacing the chat radio and everything on a regular basis. To keep it topical, maybe.
I mean, that's obviously very possible. I just wonder if in the single player portion, the talk radio stuff often loops into like what you're actively doing and stuff like that. So maybe that will be more kind of self-contained, but certainly in the online portion, I could see that happening. I wonder if they take the feedback of how much people wanted more single player content and roll that out. Because the thing is, because it is couched in online, a lot of people miss it, but there is tons of single player missions in GTA Online, fully voiced. Like, they get the cast back, they have Dr. Dre and all that shit. Can
you? Because I when it first came out, I looked into this and didn't get what I wanted, and I'm hoping that they've changed it now. Can you play GTA Online on your own and never interact with another person, or have there always got to be
No,
other people in the world.
you can, like, there may be, so the only, for the heists you need other people because they're like 4-player
Yeah.
missions, but you can spawn into a world on your own, play all the single player, as far as I'm aware, you can play like the majority of the single player content and like an empty version of so you basically spawn into like an invite only world for you and your pals, but just don't invite anyone.
Don't invite anyone. See, that's ideal. I maybe get into that because they did that recently with Sea of Thieves, and I was like, finally, because like I love the idea of a persistently changing world with new missions and stuff like that. But I just don't want arseholes turning up and ruin it for me. Like, I don't want to interact with other people in the limited time I get to play games every day. I want to just play the game.
No, I get that.
I'll look into that.
I think they would maybe angle towards that because you've got to, I was about to say, you've got to imagine that the cost of Dr. Dre hasn't been seen, but when you just put out a new supercar that cost people 20 quid in shark money, that's it. Like, that's his dinner paid for. So I cannot wait. I think next year is going to be an astonishingly exciting year in this game. GTA and a new Nintendo console and a new Pokemon game. Like, it's going to
maybe even GTA on a new Nintendo console.
Right.
People are going to write stories on that as if I know that. Like, just to be totally clear, that I'm guessing there that people are going to, someone somewhere is going to say that I just teased that.
Let's start shooting here. Do you think it's on the Switch too?
No.
Neither that.
I think it might be eventually, like a pared down version. At the very least, I don't see why they couldn't bring 5 to Switch 2,
or just online,
like
an online client for it, maybe.
Like this is the thing with the Switch 2, is if it's as powerful as they say it is, you can expect a lot of Xbox One and PS4 era ports, just to hopefully fairly easily get ported over across to it, as easily as you can port from one system to a handheld. It sounds like it could be powerful enough to handle it. I mean, if the Steam Deck can handle it, and you've got to imagine Switch 2 might be a wee bit less powerful than a Steam Deck to keep the costs manageable, but who's to say?
I imagine it's like PS4 strength, so you get like...
That's what I'm hoping.
I mean, the look at The Last of Us Part 2, even on a PS4. Like, that is an insane looking game. Obviously, that's Naughty Dog using the absolute height of the PS4 Pro's power, so maybe not that, but if you transpose that to what developers have already been able to do to get modern games onto the Switch, like, I think it could be really interesting to see. Like, I don't think you'll get GTA, but I think you'll get like Hogleg 2. I think you'll get like big third parties will be much more interested this time in being like, okay, let's see what we can do, because that Switch version of Hogleg did insane numbers.
Yeah, and like you say, if it does end up being PS4 quality, then loads of games get PS4 ports just now anyway. So it's not going to be the world's, but it's not going to take an extra 12 months and tens of millions of dollars of development costs to somehow squeeze that into a Switch 2 as well. You've got to hope that everything is close enough that porting to PS4 and then porting to Switch 2 isn't a million billion miles away from each other, that there's some sort of like relative ease to do that. Again, talking to someone who has no idea how these things work, and not pretending that it's as easy as pressing a button, pressing the Switch 2 transfer button.
Just export as Switch 2.
Export as Switch.2. But I'm excited about seeing the power of it, because I think people forget now, because it's obviously the Switch is 7 years old now, and everyone goes on about how it's showing its age now. When that first came out, the detail and for a handheld was like really impressive, because there was no Steam Deck or anything like that. The Switch was far and away the most powerful handheld at the time. And obviously I don't think the Switch 2 is going to blow as many minds, because we now do have the Steam Deck and the ROG Ally and stuff like that, but I think it's still going to be enough of a leap up in over 7 years to really
8 by the time it actually
8 years.
I mean, it's not included in the news this week because it's kind of nebulous, but the word on the street that we both heard is that developers are being told not to expect it like before May-ish time, so I could see that. Also, an addendum to this, PokeBeach did some digging, and the Japanese names for the trading card sets for the next couple of sets have been found, like the trademarks for them. And if you line them all out, it doesn't seem like Legends ZA is coming out before like next summer. So that's probably
Switch to,
around that time too.
yeah.
What do you think will be the thing?
It would make perfect sense to make that a switch to launch or launch window game, because that was the one. Pokemon Legends is fantastic, we both agree, but you could tell it was pushing the Switch to its limits.
Oh,
everyone remembers the slightly unfair memes of someone standing over like a really empty lake, which they somehow managed to find the ugliest bit in the entire game and decided that represented the whole game. It's not a stunning game, but it's not awful.
But that's the kind of stuff it struggles with. Like, up close, when it's like two characters up close, the Pokemon look really nice, but when you get to any kind of focal distance, which being open world is a big thing, it does kind of fall on its arse.
So I can see them doing a Breath of the Wild with that, launching it on Switch and Switch 2.
Yeah.
Which would make sense.
I don't think that's the thing that gets like, see the people that got the Switch during the pandemic, I don't think that's what transfers them over. I think the next Animal Crossing is the thing that gets them.
That's the thing. They're going to play the same game as they usually do. They're going to aim for the hardcore first, because it's going to be they're going to have a limited number of units, and they're not going to say, well, here's the game that's going to sell 50 million copies, because they don't want that yet. They want to manage stock and make sure we don't get an eBay scalping situation, that enough people who want it get it. And then over time, you'll get your new Animal Crossing, you'll get your new Mario Kart, you'll get your new.
I bet Mario Kart's done. I bet Mario Kart is like completely finished at this point.
We've not counting the mobile game, which fine. We've not had a brand new console Mario Kart since the Wii U.
Yeah,
come on, make it Super Smash Kart.
Oh god,
this is the dream. Put that, more, please.
Especially as Nintendo's IPs start to like tendril out more than just Mario. Like, I think you have to eventually make it Nintendo Kart or Mario and Friends Kart to keep the Mario Kart branding. Like,
because I love Mario more than anything. Like, everyone knows my history with it is well known, but with the best will in the world, if Mario Kart 9 comes out and they say brand new character Elephant Mario, I'll be like, okay. Like, they've rinsed that roster as far as they can. You look at how many racers were in the last Mario Kart. After all the DLC and stuff was added, and even then they were thrown in Animal Crossing and
Zelda, Link rather,
and like an Excite Bike track and an F-Zero track. They were like, even then you kind of got the feeling they'd reached the edge of what they can do with the Mushroom Kingdom, thrown in like real world circuits, and here's Paris. It's like, cheers. So yeah, hopefully 9 is like, okay, here's
Pikachu,
and put in like some that. Much as I'm usually against live service, put in some live service stuff just to keep people playing it, but not gacha stuff. That's my very specific request for Nintendo.
If they can thread that needle of like a really strong battle pass like supported thing, where it's like, okay, this season is Animal Crossing, Tom Nook's the end of the battle pass, you get him as a racer. Next season it's Pokemon, like
100%. I would play nothing else for the rest of my life. But I mean, Disney Speedstorm does that, and they're dropping the ball now. Like they're massively bottling it, and I don't like to say, I would be surprised if that game lasts another 18 months.
Really?
With every season they're making, it's getting clearer and clearer.
They just put Kermit the motherfucking Frog in it.
I know, but it's becoming clearer and clearer that game's struggling. Like, one season, like it used to be, you'd pay £8 for a season pass, and you would get 4 characters or whatever, and over the course of that in a new stage. Then last season they split seasons into 2, and so a season now has 2 parts, each costing £8. And when you play it, it's like, this is just a normal season, but you've basically doubled the price. Some of the characters didn't have voice acting anymore, and you're like, costs are being cut here. And
do they still have do they add new dubstep songs? Like, do we get a dubstep
soundtracks are still, we still get dubstep stuff, which is good. But one of the new characters for the first time in the last season couldn't be unlocked without paying for them. Like, in the past, there was ways you could unlock them through skill, and one of the Inside Out on Wii from Inside Out 2 for the first time that has to be paid for. And I think they deliberately chose the shittest character to see how many people completists would pay for it. This season it's like Pirates of the Caribbean again, and like all they've done is like tweaked an existing track. They're cutting corners quite a lot, and I can see it going downhill unless things turn around. But that's another enormous segue
It's almost
from
as
the
if
actual
this,
point, which was
it's almost as
Borderlands
if
4.
this, yeah. It's almost as if this live service stuff is a total bubble.
Yeah.
Another live service complaint, they just added Cyclops, Jubilee, and Mystique, I think, from the X-Men to Fortnite. And I was like, oh, brilliant. And then I was like, oh, I'm pretty sure when I wasn't playing, they put Gambit in Fortnite. Will they bring him back to the item store? He was a fucking Battle Pass character, and they're not bringing old Battle Pass characters back to the item store. It's just Battle Pass characters going forward. So I'll never have Gambit. I'll never have Remy LeBeau. They call me the Gambit. Like, it's never going to happen.
I hate that. I hate that. I can't remember what it was. I was looking up a game recently because I thought I quite fancy getting into that, but I've missed some of the kind of. I'll tell you what it was. I wanted to start playing Forza again. Forza Motorsport. Now they've added more stuff to it.
Coming to PS5 next week, apparently.
Allegedly. Because they're adding more stuff to it, and I thought, oh, but I remember it had like weekly or fortnightly events or something, and if you won the event, you won a exclusive car. You unlocked an exclusive car, and then the event disappeared. And I was looking in the forums to say, "Can you get these back?" No. if you haven't been playing the game for on a weekly basis since it came out, like loads of cars are gone. It's like, come on, give us a way.
Give us a way. Okay, a couple more before the break. A man has connected 444 consoles to one TV. His name is Ibrahim Al Nasser. And he says that all of his consoles are completely different from each other. That's not true because he counts the PS5 and the PS5 Slim, which is the same console with a different shell. He's got a spreadsheet with all his consoles hooked up to an HDMI switcher. But the most concerning thing he says when asked about his favorite console, for me, the best gaming console of all time, number one always, forever, Sega Genesis. Chris Scullion, what do you think of that?
FUD. No, I mean... the non-Scots are not going to understand that. I appreciate his dedication to the hobby. I don't agree
to the craft, to the art,
to the gig, to the graft. I don't agree with his choice of favorite console of all time. But there's no denying it is a technical achievement, technically impressive, if not logically sound. Because imagine if one of the wires, if one of those HDMI, one of his SCART cables gets a wee bit jittery, and then he's got to like climb over 400 TurboGrafx and like many arcade machines, stepping on many arcade machines and putting his foot through a Magnavox just to try and get the cable out of the thing that's parked at the back of the queue. So fair play to him, but I expect there'll be lots more money spent on replacements and repairs. I
mean, the Donnie's clearly get cash because he's got like thousands of pounds worth of Metal Gear shit on it. He's got the just Metal Gear arcade cabinet, like all that stuff as well.
Wiping his arse with No More Heroes toilet roll. The guy's he's got his stuff, but yeah, fair play to him. Like it's clearly I'm pretty sure that wasn't a Guinness World Record before, so it's quite clearly a made up record.
Get Tommy Tallarico on the blower.
No, exactly. Wait a minute. But yeah, fair play to him, but it wouldn't be me. I prefer just switching my wee HDMI cables around.
Yeah, only 400 sharp. Okay, before the break, a fond farewell to Pokemon Misty and Jessie voice actor Rachel Lillis, who has passed away. Veronica Taylor, who was the original voice of Ash, posted the following on X. It is with a very heavy heart that I share the news of the passing of Rachel Lillis on Saturday evening, 10th August 2024. Rachel was an extraordinary talent, a bright light that shone through her voice, whether speaking or singing. She will be forever remembered for the many animated roles she played, with her iconic performance as Pokemon's Misty and Jessie being the most beloved. Rachel was so thankful for all the generous love and support that was given to her as she battled with cancer. It truly made a positive difference. Her family also wishes to thank you as they take this time to grieve privately. A memorial is being planned for a future date. Happy trails to an iconic voice. And we'll be back after this. And we are back. If you enjoyed this podcast and want some more, check out patreon.com/videogameschronicle. There's an off-topic podcast up there right now. And there's CVG, Chatting Vintage Games, our new retro podcast. Chris, would you like some listener questions?
I'd love them.
Some listener questions. These questions were cultivated on our Patreon, on our Discord, which you can get access to via patreon.com/videogames chronicle. Okay. Question number 1. Jeff Grubb, enemy of the show, asks, what's your problem?
Was that directed at me though, or to you?
My
problem we've already established is live service. Handled badly.
My problem is I've got sore knees and sore ankles. So, but at least I'm not Jeff Grubb. I wake up every day and thank God I'm not Jeff Grubb. Don't you agree?
I like Jeff Grubb. I've yet to befriend Jeff Grubb on a physical face-to-face level. I look forward to the day where me and Jeff Grubb join forces against you, and it becomes like a 2-on-1 tag team situation.
Kick the absolute shit out of me. Hit me with a doomsday device. Fair.
Some of my, I was going to say use some of my street knowledge, but that's probably not the kind of
Get off these streets.
The kind of beating that you're going to want.
Beating all over the place. Beating on, beating off. Who can say? Simi asks, if you could forget one game so you could replay it again, what would it be? And my answer is thank goodness you're here, because I want to laugh at those jokes again.
House of the Dead Overkill on the Wii.
Oh God!
Because it has the. I can't even actually explain this tastefully. It has the most shocking ending in the history of the medium, as in like hilarious but outrageously disgusting.
I mean, the statute of limitations is over. Surely you can describe it.
There is the main enemy is a kind of David Bowie looking kind of guy.
Hello, welcome to the House of the Dead.
Welcome to the zombies. And he's like he doesn't talk like that, thankfully. But so the whole game, for those who haven't played it, is a pastiche of grindhouse type things. Very good. And all the way through it, like there's loads of kind of lots of B movies references and gore and all that kind of stuff. And there's a stereotypical like characters. One of the guys says mother effer all the time. So I'm trying to limit my swearing because it's about to get outrageous. I'm saving my outrageous films. And the other guy, his partner, questions, why do you keep saying that? Like, why do you have to keep saying that word? It's really not necessary. Blah, blah, blah. And at the end, the guy, the main David Bowie type enemy, resurrects his dead mother, and she,
hello, mother,
mommy, welcome home. She and you fight on the top of this big giant like a big lab or something, and the mum is an enormous 80-foot zombie, and as you're shooting at her, she is giving birth to zombies over and over, like physically, like visually giving birth to zombies who are being born and coming alive and running at you. And at the end, you kill the mum, and fake Bowie's like devastated, and he's like, it's all over. And
no, you killed my mother.
Decides he wants to go back to the womb and physically climbs back inside her. Like, both the two guys are just standing there, and he says, like, it's quite ironic that you've been saying mother effer the entire time, and we have literally just seen that happen. And that's how the game ends. I'm like, Jesus Christ, what have I just seen? So yeah,
was this on the Wii?
This was on the Wii.
How did that get passed?
And then remastered on other systems, but I highly recommend House of the Dead Overkill. Despite that spoiler, like there are lots of other kind of fun things all the way through it. But yeah.
I want to jump up my mother.
Goodbye, world. I'm going back to mummy. But yeah, I would. That's the game I'd love to rediscover, because once you get that initial shock, you'll never get it back. But yeah, that's the one.
God rest them.
God rest them. And her again.
And her. Yeah. Next question comes from Sam B. First part, he's actually went for 2 here. He's been a greedy bastard. Firstly, what's your most anticipated game? Which game?
Which
For
game?
the rest of the year?
Which of the video games has me most wetting your whistle? Was it literally just what game I'm most looking forward to? That Halloween one now.
Is that this year?
October, yeah.
Oh.
That and potentially Funko Fusion, which hopefully we can talk about in the future. That's
in
caught
the
my
Funko
eye.
future.
Yeah, exactly.
You might not be able to tell by the fact that I've bought 500 magazines with him on the cover of it, but it's Astrobot. And because I'm not playing it yet because I can say that. And if I suddenly shut up about it next week,
Exactly.
then that's the one. Yeah, Astrobot. Aye, it's fucking Astrobot. This year's game of the year conversation is going to be. You're going to have to play Balatro before the end of the year. You're going to have to. You're going to have to take the hit.
I'm confident Astrobot will be better.
You're going to have to line up a nice fat line of Balatro and get the old.
I will, but I'm concerned about my mental well-being if I start playing that, because that seems custom made for me to lose my hundreds of hours to.
It's like the best. It feels like Tetris in the way that it's just like, this is a new staple in the genre. Like, I want this released on every console for the rest of time. When a console comes out, if it doesn't have Balatro, I'm no interested in it.
It's the new Quacks, basically.
The new Uno. His second part of his greedy bastard question: any predictions for opening night live?
Well, I can imagine we'll get 2 Point Museum now, because they just announced that. Sega said they were bringing an unannounced game at Gamescom, and it was then subsequently announced as the third game in the 2 Point series, which looks quite fun. 2 Point Museum. Other than that, I'm not sure. There's bits and pieces that I've got appointments for that obviously can't. So there will be new announcements that haven't been announced yet.
Bloodborne 2.
Of course. But yeah, so I think there's going to be some good stuff. I don't think anyone should be expecting like a Summer Game Fest situation, but there'll be some decent stuff here, I think.
Do we get a megaton? Like, does Sony come up on stage and give you something?
Probably not. I mean, I'm guessing here at this point. Nothing I've got booked with the greatest will in the world is a new God of War or anything like that. But
yeah.
I would be surprised if there was anything that big. Gamescom is massive, but doesn't yet seem to be massive enough to get a Final Fantasy VIII remake style announcement.
Yeah,
that all seems to be saved for the summer.
I'm currently under like 5 preview embargoes that all fall around Gamescom time, and one of them is big enough to be like a big showstopper, but I don't even know if that's going to be like part of opening night live or how that's going to play out, because we're not privy to that stuff. We just have to kind of infer.
Sometimes we're lucky. Sometimes they'll say the embargo lifts on, and it's like during opening night live, and then you go, okay, well that's clearly going to be.
Fun fact: that's how half of the Nintendo Directs get leaked.
100%. All these people who claim to have insider knowledge of when a Nintendo Direct is coming really just have insider knowledge of when third-party games have embargo dates. Because if 3 or 4 new game announcements come to you and have an embargo dates on the same Wednesday evening, you go, that's odd that all 3 of those games are going to become known at the same time. That's a Nintendo Direct. So that's to everyone who wonders how the leaks work. That's how it works. There's not people like sitting hacking into Nintendo's mainframe. It's people using common sense.
It really is often stuff that is that boring. But I think so we didn't talk about it because it's all chutney at the minute. But there's chat that there's going to be a Microsoft game coming to PlayStation. Do you think that's a open night live? It's a bit of a downer announcement.
It would be. I know Xbox is going to be there, but as I understand it, they're just showing Indiana Jones and stuff like that. But like just showing it, I didn't think they were going to have it playable or anything. But it would be a weird one to announce during Gamescom. That seems like the sort of thing that would just be announced on the Xbox blog.
Because that's like not an announcement for Xbox fans.
It's not. That's literally Xbox coming out and saying, by the way, we're giving our competition another big game. So that's really the sort of thing you put on the Xbox Wire blog and spin the hell out of it instead of announcing it on stage. So I don't expect that on stage, at least. Maybe on a live stream or a because Xbox has got a stream after it. But even then, probably not. It'll be a blog post if it happens.
Being like, we're sorry, we're bringing Forza 5.
We're bringing the entire Halo series
Mate,
and
when
every
see when
Forza.
that falls, it's actually over. Like currently the games that have come over, whatever, who cares? But
That's why
when
I'm
I
not
can
sure
play
about.
Halo on a PlayStation, I will feel grim about that.
That's why I'm not sure about these Forza rumors as well. So for those who haven't seen, the rumor is that Forza Horizon 5 is coming to PlayStation 5. And half of the quote unquote leakers are saying it's happening, and the other half are saying it isn't. I don't know if that would be a good idea for Xbox. I get the whole we need to put our games on as many platforms as we can, but that's a really big one to be given up. That's a big exclusive console exclusive, one of their very best console exclusives to be putting on another system. And unless the aim is to outdo Gran Turismo, and
Does Forza Motorsport 5 have a cafe? That is the question.
well, I mean, does anything these days?
Is Forza Motorsport 5 unbearably boring?
It's not. That's true. They probably don't compete, don't they? Like, they're
No.
probably too different. Yeah, no cafes, no boredom in Forza Horizon 5. Yeah, very different games.
No 40-minute explanation of like the hatchback.
Yeah, no 20-minute car pornography opening video.
Yeah, I think that Forza I could maybe see, but also I don't see what, because there's tons of car games on PlayStation. That doesn't feel like a big kind of here's a big different point. Yeah, we'll see.
Flight Sim would be an interesting one.
Flight Sim would
That's
be an
something
interesting
different.
one, yeah.
And they could charge daft money for it, knowing that it's not going to be on PS Plus, and just to see how many flight nerds would buy it full price, because they can't. Obviously, it's been on Game Pass since day one on the Xbox, so it'd be curious to see how many console players would actually pay good money for Flight Sim.
What about something like Hellblade 2?
I go for it. Might as well.
Yeah.
Nobody cared that much. Like, with the greatest respect to it, it was fine, but it didn't blow people away, enough people away like you thought. That's the perfect game to port over and make more money back on it.
Sure is. This comes from a name that's so long that it's been cut off. It just says your name can't possibly just be J. You can't have gotten the username J. J dot dot says, any game you think was dismissed or quickly forgotten about at release that would get a second chance on Switch 2. Final Fantasy 13, Forspoken, and Mass Effect Andromeda come to mind for me. Apologies for the mild stroke I had at the start there. The Discord properly freaked out and was like, you're in streamer mode. Don't look at anything. Don't look at anybody's profile. Don't even try it. Also, do you not think that was quite a good impression of the Scottish guy from Thank Goodness We're Here?
That was good.
It wasn't intentional, but
it's been a good year for legitimate Scottish accents in games.
It's about to be ruined. I can't talk about it until 3:00, so the podcast will be out by then. But
that's a shame.
There is an upcoming game that I will talk about at 3:00 that has the most racist Scottish accent you've ever heard. No. It was so bad that I thought it was doing a racist impression of another country. So
good to look forward to that. Oh well.
Yeah.
Streak ended.
Yeah. The streak is over. That black guy's standing there like
the guy from the WrestleMania guy.
Yeah. Yeah, forgotten games that will come back on Switch 2. Get like a reappraisal. I think in a couple of years, some really beardy people will be like, oh, Forspoken was actually great. It was actually one of Square Enix's most. It was pish. It was a pish game for pish people.
I'm trying to think what games from last generation I liked and not a lot of other people did. Or
underrated gem.
I would like to see a Switch 2 version of Rise, Son of Rome.
Go away.
That's a good V game.
It's
a good V game.
It's a fine launch game, but it's basically like it's so boring. It's so boring, man.
I would like to see a Forza Horizon on the Switch 2. Unless this Xbox handheld ever ends up happening, in which case obviously I'll just take it on that instead. But it feels like Xbox and Nintendo. That's a could be partnership that could be had there, unless, like I say, the Xbox is actually planning this handheld. In which case, why would it?
I totally forgot until I always forget until I see trailers for it that that Lego Horizon game's coming out this year and it's on Switch. Like, I wonder if that's because people played it SGF and they're like, it's pretty good.
Maybe that might be at Gamescom. Maybe that might get a trailer, release date or something, because they said this year. So it's like when?
The Mora, actually.
Oh, well, sold.
Because the TikTok advertising for that's actually really ramped up in the last week. So maybe they come out and they're like, it's November 5th in honor of Guy Fawkes. We didn't talk about it, but Dragon Age is this year, 31st of October. Kingdom Come 2 is not. That's next year.
Too many games. We're finally starting to see well, we have been for a while, but the whole the COVID delays are all they're continuing to come thick and fast. Although, like you say, some are being delayed till next year now, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, it's getting there.
Give us all. I want games.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think that Switch 2. I mean, we talked about it earlier. It's going to be 2025. You'll find it all right here on VGC, the video game podcast.
In terms of stuff from last generation that wasn't appreciated, I would like to see. No, you're going up the fist. I would like to see a complete version of Disney Infinity with all the Toys to Life crap removed from it, and all the characters just there. They did it. They kind of did it on PC, on Steam. They did like a digital only version of that. I think you had to buy the characters separately or some of the things separately.
Oh yeah, you'd have to spend money for old Bob Iger to get his piece.
A full price, the complete collection, and it's just everything's there unlocked, and you can just go wild.
But what if you could get more characters via Lorcana packs?
Chase yourself. Don't.
Have you?
No, I don't do the trading card thing.
Go on.
No.
We bet a Lorcana for the lads.
No. I don't do physical. I don't do trading cards. I don't do board games. It's just not my thing, I'm afraid.
Yeah. Fair enough. Last question before we get out of here. Would you ever do a drunk podcast for Patreon? If so, what personality trait would you fear would manifest? Oh, Chris, you're always at it.
Oh,
you're always.
I know. I'm barely sober. No. For a man who's been teetotal his entire life, I'd be curious to see.
All right, CM Punk.
Well, listen. Straight edge, all the way. But I wouldn't be averse to a podcast where everyone else is drunk except me. And I by default become the most level-headed dominant force on the show.
It would be the most libelous podcast that has ever been.
Like I said in the Discord, the Discord server, I barely keep you like legally correct while you're sober. So yeah,
I think the main problem. So occasionally when we do these, like, say we're all covering a E3 press conference, God rest it. Occasionally we'll have some drinks and then we'll stay on the chat after all the work is done and just talk. Mm-hmm. And the problem would be we would say some wild shit that we are not allowed to say. Yeah. And it would be the most listened to podcast ever. By the way, Corey Barlog's doing this. But,
as the sober one, I would need to be given a button similar to. Do you remember when Big Brother used to be live 24/7?
Oh yeah.
And so if you went on E4, the red button or whatever, you could watch Big Brother whenever you wanted. But as soon as someone started talking about something in the outside world, tell you what happened to my friend once. He, and you just hear like out background noises with birds twittering. Yeah. I would need to have that button as the sober person. So whenever you start to go, here's a story about the WWE. Like this, like nope, not today, not today. We'd like a job, please.
Big Brother, man. Do you remember I think Mayfi Simply Red giving the thumbs up middle finger? I think I've talked about this in the podcast before. Leo Sayer. Leo Sayer was backed into a corner. He was like wanting to leave, and a camera was on him, and he tried to like give it the middle finger, but he fucked up, and he went thumbs up and then middle finger. Like, it was so embarrassing.
Skills.
Then that was the same season that Donnie Tourette from the Tourettes, you may remember from Nevermind the Buzzcocks, jumped the fence to leave, which fair enough. Big Brother used to kick off, man. Mind the Jade Goody season, Shilpa Shetty. Come on now.
That was the glory days. Remember one season, the non-celebrity one, the kind of normal Big Brother. They had just some big blonde Scottish boy who was just like an affront to Scotland because he just started fights with everyone. He was like a proper, like, is that this guy's? I know people like him. And it's like, yeah, not a fan.
I wonder if the reason that Big Brother doesn't really work anymore, at least as a, like, I watched a bit of that the kind of relaunch of it last year, but the concept of people broadcasting their entire life is not novel anymore.
No.
Like,
yeah,
people just leave TikTok lives on for like hours and hours and hours. So the idea of going on the E4 website and being like, oh, they're all sleeping, or Leo Sayers like having a fag, like it's just
it doesn't work
who
anymore.
cares?
Yeah, it's sad days.
It's a shame that era of TV is dark. And I mean, Big Brother's little brother was that bloody Russell Brand.
Yeah, a lot of old TV can no longer be watched.
Yeah.
they just wiped from the archives.
I mean, I cannot believe that the BBC now has to Chris Benoit their announcement of the Queen dying. That is just so funny. That is just generationally funny. What absolute top banter. Anyway, before we get libeled, comments, questions, and concerns to podcast at videogameschronicle.com. You can support us at patreon.com/videogameschronicle and also get 2 bonus podcasts a month and a whole lot of other stuff. What are you up to for the rest? Oh, I've got an email. Is this it? No! Bastard! What are you up to for the rest of the day?
I'm finishing off a preview, which the kids can read on VGC from 4 p.m. Today. So by the time you hear this, it's probably already up. It's related to plastic toys. And
sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun. Cool. Was
it a bird there?
It was a bird. It's the popular co bird, which flies by going co a lot. Other than that, I'm writing the newsletter for Patreon just now. That'll be up by the time you hear this. It'll already be up. And just go back out in the streets again because I miss it. If I'm honest, like you get a taste for it, and you're like
a feral cat that's been domesticated, but still just has to go. You come in to sleep,
still
you've got to go back out.
Still claw at the door every now and then.
Yeah, that's fair. I'll have some thoughts on a game at 3:00. I would do a funny bit. Oh, it's a game with a custom controller that you can't tell what it is because the lights aren't on, but it's a game that is featured on this controller. You know what it is. People have been talking about it for a week, but yeah, we'll talk about that at 3. And honestly, Chris, last night for my dinner, I had chicken chasney and a cheese naan, so I'll probably just sleep that off for the remainder of the day. I've got another email. Is that it?
No. It won't be.
Bastard.
I don't know why you keep saying these things never happen until you're not looking for them, and then like as soon as your guard drops, that's when it turns up.
No, as soon as 50 news stories get posted, so I'm like taking off, I'll get the email.
Yeah, during our conversation, I've received like another 10 emails. One of them is an embargo change, which is there's
cancelled.
There's news coming at 4:00 later today as well. So
there's news coming, exclusive. Okay, let's get out of here to prepare that news. Podcast at videogameschronicle.com, patreon.com/videogameschronicle. Follow Chris at Skull88, me at Jordan Midler. See us out on the streets. Until next time, thank you, Grant Kirkhope, for the VGC podcast theme song. We're sorry for what we do in your name. Say goodbye, Chris.
Goodbye, Chris.
And we'll see you next time.